Good evening. Again, thank you for joining us for the Fort Worth ISD Council of PTAs Candidate Forum for District 3. Our candidates this evening are Quinton Q. Phillips, Valeria Nevarez, and Martasia James. And we have our a special moderator this evening, a star student from O.D. Wyatt High School in Fort Worth ISD, Junior Javia Lane. Javia recently traveled with PTA to Austin with many other Fort Worth ISD students and is excited about engaging more in advocacy. So we threw her right in and she's done a great job. My name is Tiffany Rogers and I serve as the Vice President of the Fort Worth ISD Council of PTAs. The mission of PTA is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. Part of how we make every child's potential a reality is empowering families to be informed voters. This forum will be recorded and is available for viewing between now and voting day on our website, www.fwisdpta.org. We are thankful that our candidates have joined us this evening to help us get to know them. PTA is nonpartisan. We support or oppose issues, not candidates. And in that spirit, let me go over a few guidelines for this evening. Candidates, please focus your answers on your plans, helping our viewers to get to know you, and refrain from referencing the past or your opponent. You may interact with our moderator, but may not interact directly with each other. You will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to introduce yourselves, 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond to each question, and 1 minute and 30 seconds for closing remarks. We will have a timer through Zoom, and at a 10-minute warning, you will hear a bell. So please know that at that bell, you'll need to wrap up. Once your time has expired, if you are still speaking, our moderator will interrupt and thank you, and you'll be muted at that point. Opening statements will be in alphabetical order by last name, and closing statements will be in the opposite order. Questions will be answered starting in alphabetical order by last name, and then we will alternate as well. I would like to introduce Marisol Herrera. She is on our advocacy committee, and she has an announcement for any Spanish speakers. Marisol, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Bienvenidos y gracias por acompañarnos. Para todos nuestros televidentes de habla hispana, este foro estará disponible con subtítulos y audio en español próximamente en nuestro sitio web www.fwisdpta.org. Gracias.
Thank you, Marisol. And now I will turn it over to our star, Javia Lane. Javia, you can begin with intros.
Hello, I'm Javia. We'll begin with intros, and I will be starting with Ms. Nevarez.
Awesome. I'm so excited to be here. I love seeing young people involved in advocacy and anything related to the community, which kind of brings me here running for Fort Worth ISD School Board. I am Valeria Nevarez. I am 22 years old. I am a first-generation American. And two things my parents that came from Mexico have taught me: one, the honor of hard work, and two, the honor of serving others. And I've learned hard work going through school, putting myself through a difficult career, and now serving my community. And it's what I'm passionate about, but more specifically, the younger generations and the next generation. I've been working with youth for the past 5 years, and I know that public education has a lot to do with their lives, and it will ultimately set them up for their future along with other things, but school is one of the major ones. And so I said, we need to be in those places and make sure that the young generations have the tools that they need to succeed and to really choose the careers they want and be successful from there. So that brings me to run for Fort Worth ISD School Board. I believe I can be the change that District 3 desperately needs. I am willing to be a voice for parents and a voice for my community. And I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and do the work. And so that is why I'm here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And we'll be doing an introduction of Ms. James.
Ms. James, before you start your introduction, I just wanted to let you know, first of all, thank you for joining us. And we do have a timer going. So when you get to 10 seconds left, you'll hear a bell. You have 1.5 minutes to introduce yourself, and then questions and closings will be that same time frame. So just remember when you hear that bell to wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you. So do I go ahead and start now? Okay, my name is Martasia James. I am a graduate from Dunbar High School, and I am running for school board trustee for District 3 because I feel as though that there needs to be a change made for our kids within our Black and brown communities. Currently, I volunteer at Metro Opportunity School, and I see the difference with how our kids are being treated there and how many kids are being sent there for misbehavior so much. And I wanted to step in to be that person to bring some type of change. And when it comes to our academics and our kids with their below average performance scores, I have so many ideas as far as trying to help the kids improving with their academics. I am the oldest of 3 others, and I've always been the person to try to push them to do great. And I feel as though when I run into my kids after they've encountered me on the streets and whatnot, to hear them tell me that they're doing good or they got a job or they're in college, just to hear the positivity that they're coming back with really pushes me to want to see more kids come back with more positivity. And so that is one of the reasons that I'm running for school board. And I do apologize if I sound short-winded. I'm a little under the weather right now.
Thank you. And we'll be moving on to Mr. Phillips.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Javia. And just want to begin by saying thank you to the Council of PTAs, one, for everything that you do when it comes to our children, when it comes to our students within our schools, being that support system. But definitely want to thank you for having opportunities like this forum, where we're able to speak to people and for people to be informed and educated on who they're going to go vote for. And I'm really hopeful that everyone decides to exercise that right. My name is Quinton Phillips. Everyone calls me Q, so please feel free to do so. And I am currently the vice president of the board for Fort Worth ISD. I am the representative for District 3. You know, the first time around when I was running, one of the things that I talked about, the reason I ran is because I'm the return on the investment from my community. Born and raised on the east side, I'm matriculated in Dunbar Pyramid Schools, graduate of Dunbar High School, living right there in Stop 6. And there's so many people that poured into me that showed me the way that your life is not your own, but you're supposed to be that funnel to be able to give back to others. And I knew that education was that vehicle for me because it's been the thing that's captivated my entire life, from professional to everything that I've done. It's always been surrounding education. So and so now this time around, running for re-election again after much prayer, much consideration, it really is because there's unfinished business. I feel like we've done a good job in this first term and everything, but I'm ready to be consistent in the leadership that we're going to offer and provide. So thank y'all for having me.
Thank you. And just a reminder that when the bell goes off, y'all do have an extended 15 seconds. It's not necessarily the end of your time. You do have 15 more seconds.
Indeed. Thank you.
We'll begin with the questions. I'm going to start with Ms. James. The first question is, what is the biggest challenge facing Fort Worth ISD? How would you solve this challenge? And how would you engage and get buy-in from the Fort Worth ISD stakeholders?
I feel as though the biggest challenge right now with the Fort Worth ISD is transparency. A lot of our parents don't know what's going on with their children or their schools. And when it comes to that, it makes it difficult for parents to know what's going on, especially with sometimes the children are being children and don't report what is taking place. Another thing is the vouchers issues that is coming about that I feel as though is an issue, because if that is something that does go into play, what about our kids who aren't able to get into those schools because of the fact that the schools are overflow or transportation issues, or what about the free and reduced lunches that our kids get at our public schools right now? And I feel as though that once we attack those issues at hand, we could then push for more better communication between the school board and the parents, and provide more support when it comes to our teachers and whatnot. Because inside the classrooms, if the teachers are having to do more disciplinary issues, deal with disciplinary issues, then it makes it hard for them to be able to teach our kids. And we have a lot of teachers who are really committed to teaching the kids and making sure they are able to retain what it is that they are learning. But if we have teachers who aren't able, they're spending too much time disciplining the kids, it makes it harder for the kids to be able to learn, which makes it harder for our academic scores to be able to improve.
Thank you. Same question for Ms. Nevarez. What is the biggest challenge facing Fort Worth ISD? How would you solve this challenge? And how would you engage and get buy-in from the Fort Worth ISD stakeholders?
Yeah, so the Fort Worth ISD, it's public education, right? And the purpose of public education is to educate children. And I think that's where our biggest challenge is right now, the education aspect of it. To put it in short terms, our kids aren't learning the skill that they need. Our students in Fort Worth ISD are learning to read, write, and do math. I recently just saw a statistic that said we're only projecting 19% of students to pass the STAR test this year. That means that 81% of those students are not projected to pass. And so that is the biggest challenge right now. Our kids are graduating high school they're not knowing the basics of math, reading, and writing to complete full sentences, to do critical thinking. And that is the biggest challenge in facing Fort Worth ISD. And when that issue is not resolved, we have more issues such as student unenrollment that leads to less parental involvement. And but I think fixing that issue in the Fort Worth ISD, fixing the academics, let's go back to the purpose of education, which is to educate our students. I feel when that happens, the other issues in the Fort Worth ISD will solve themselves.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Phillips. What is the biggest challenge facing Fort Worth ISD? How would you solve this challenge? And how would you engage and get buy-in from Fort Worth ISD stakeholders?
Yeah, so many of the issues been spoken to have definitely been near and dear to our heart as a board, and particularly in the work that I've been doing since I've been able to be trustee. We've already began to make the proper changes, as many who follow in the district are able to see. Is all over the place, right? That we're making the changes that are necessary to make sure we're in proper position to educate our young people the way that they're supposed to be, for them to reach their full potential, right? So to answer your question directly though, Javia, is like about the biggest issue. The biggest issue right now is adults. And it's the way that adults are playing with public education in the moment. We're talking about educating young people. We're talking about people being able to get what they need in order to be productive members of society, for us to make them ambassadors of our city. And right now we just hear the bickering going on, whether that be locally, statewide, or nationally, right? Is that public education has become this political football all of a sudden, and people can kick to either side and not really realizing the amount of lives that are being affected when we're coming into these decisions about what's going to happen on all of these levels. So what we need right now is consistent leadership that's going to be able to embed and make the relationships to actually have those tough conversations with people that are pulling the levels of power, to be able to humanize that these are students such as yourself that are sitting in these seats that are counting on us adults to get it right in order to educate them. And that we can't be playing games when it comes to people's lives, particularly in the neighborhood in which we're talking about, we represent, that I represent currently. So I think that's the biggest issue that we're facing at the moment. And I need to provide consistent leadership to be able to curtail exactly that.
Thank you. Moving to question 2, we're going to start with Ms. Nevarez. What is your position regarding self-esteem, self-worth, and social-emotional health education programs?
That's a really good question. I think while the school district does emphasize these skills, I personally do not think it's a job of school to teach kids these ideologies. I just want to know what these are. Do these ideologies vary from school to school? Who's being taught? And who's in charge of determining the definitions? What are those definitions? Also, I have a lot of questions about this. Like, are parents being informed, or are they being notified of what's being taught? So I think teachers are not qualified to be counselors. Therefore, that is my stance on SEL, social emotional learning, and educational programs like that.
Thank you. And now for Ms. James, same question. What is the biggest challenge facing Fort Worth ISD? Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. Question 2. What is your position regarding self-esteem, self-worth, and social emotional and health educational programs?
I feel as though that Forward ISD does need to implement these programs, and the fact that they are, I feel like it's something that we need to continue to do, because sometimes within our Black and Brown communities, or the district that I am running for, we don't teach the kids about social emotional learning or about self-worth, or when they become labeled, they believe that, well, I'm already being labeled as this or that. This is what I have to continue to be, or this is what since this is already being attached to me, this is what I have to fulfill. And I appreciate the fact that they are doing this, but there are a bunch of third party companies in which Forward ISD can partner with, to where they have the certifications or the requirements necessary to be in the schools to teach the kids this. Yes, I do believe that it is something that parents should be made aware of, to see if this is something that they want their child to be a part of or to even learn. But I feel as though this helps create an open mind for our kids when it comes to the future, because not everybody thinks the same, not everybody reacts the same. And when it comes to emotional learning and social learning, where it is over here in our community, they can vibe with each other. But in the community such as Pasco or Birdsville ISD, it's kind of awkward. I feel as though there's something that we should be focusing on top of our academics when it comes to our kids.
Thank you. And same question for Mr. Phillips. What is your position regarding self-esteem, self-worth, and social emotional health educational programs?
Yes, ma'am. And so I'll say this when it comes to that. So we're, it's being said, and part I can agree with is that we need to teach our students reading, writing, math, and they need to learn these things. And one, we are doing exactly that. But it's said in this vacuum as if like that's the only thing that we need to do. And then it's also said as if we're teaching robots. We're not teaching robots, we're teaching human beings. We're educating a whole person, and it behooves us to be able to focus on the whole person. Yes, we want a young person to be able to do algebra, but how effective are you going to be at doing algebra if you're hungry in that classroom? How effective are you going to be if you're coming from an environment where you were in chaos all night, or if you don't have the proper clothes that you're wearing to school, or you're wearing the same clothes that you were wearing yesterday to school? If you're getting picked on, if there's an environmental issue that's happening that's affecting your daily life, how are you really going to take the opportunity to be able to learn this thing that we're supposedly teaching you? So if we're getting it right, what we're doing is we're realizing that we're teaching a whole human. We have to look at the entire human aspect of that person, take care of the needs of a young person who's been entrusted to us for this time period, for these certain amount of days, for these hours that they're in our school building, and make sure that we're taking care of the whole person and addressing their needs and making sure they're good in order to be able to get the knowledge that we want to be able to implement. So some terms like social emotional learning has become buzzwords. They become dirty. Not dirty. It's talking about taking care of a holistic person and making sure they have what they need in order to be able to get the proper success they're looking for.
Thank you. Moving to question 3, we'll be starting with Mr. Phillips. How would you help schools enhance parent engagement and create a supportive and collaborative school environment that would benefit the academic achievement and well-being of students?
Yeah, so we're doing exactly that right now. And one of the biggest compliments I get as I've been on this board is when any parent, any family member comes to me and say, "I'm so tired of hearing from Fort Worth ISD." That is a compliment. That is good. That means communication is getting out, because I want you to be oversaturated with information. I want you to know what's happening in the life of your campus, what's happening in the life of your student, right? And our community deserves to be able to know that. So what it also does is we have to make sure that we have proper opportunity, whatever that looks like, right? That's various times, various days, but we have to have proper opportunity for parents and community members to come in and learn about what's happening within the school. We have to make sure we're in constant communication about their students. And then we also need to make sure that we're going to parents, we're going to community members and educating on what's happening. So one of the things we're working on as a board right now is when we come into our new goals that we're setting for our new superintendent, and we're getting those goal progress measures, we're going to be doing these community meetings where we're asking the community to help us to set what those look like, because we want to make sure that we actually are properly reflecting the visions, the values of what the entire community is trying to get us to know, so we can make sure we're holding that superintendent accountable to that and empowering that superintendent to be able to activate in the right ways in order to be able to get those things accomplished. So yeah, so it's a holistic approach when it comes to parent engagement. And we understand that that's varied, but the thing is we have to be willing to pivot and be varied in our approach in order to maximize results when it comes to that. It's vitally important.
Thank you. Same question for Ms. James. How would you help schools enhance parent engagement and create a supportive and collaborative school environment that would benefit the academic achievement and well-being of students?
I will make sure that parents are most definitely informed about things. If it even comes to the fact to where school board trustee, if elected, needs to come to the schools or hear the parents out every now and again, setting up meetings because they aren't able to make it to school board meetings, sending out mass text messages or phone calls. I mean, we're oftentimes calling about the kids missing school or the kid having truancy or something about the kids' behavior, but we need to also reach out to let them know about things that are coming up as far as things that the parents can be involved in. Us wanting to hear feedback from the parents and whatnot. And I would be more collaborative with the schools by offering more support, showing up to events that are needed, orchestrating events like such that I've mentioned before, and just making sure that there is a door of transparency being made open for parents to understand what it is that's going on. Because a lot of our parents within this district are parents to multiple children. And on top of that, a lot of them have more than one job. So when it comes to being able to be at a location at a certain time, sometimes they're not able to make it. So mailing out information to make sure that our parents are able to be involved and allowing check boxes or input so that they can mail them back in and we can get their feedback. But there are so many different avenues in which we can make sure that we are transparent and working with parents within the schools.
Thank you. Same question for Ms. Nevarez. How would you help schools enhance parent engagement and create a supportive and collaborative school environment that would benefit the academic achievement and well-being of students?
Yes, so I believe parents are the most important educators in a child's life. So I believe the relationship between parents, educators, and trustees is super crucial to the success of a community. And so I believe that practical ways that we can do this is make family community nights. Let's go to schools and make an event with free food. Everyone loves free food. At least I know Mexicans will go to any event that has free food. Let's make the community united. Let's make sure that the parents know who the educators are. Let's make sure that they have that relationship. And it's also make a place where parents can confidently keep the trustees accountable and make sure that the trustees, their interest is in the parents, not in some outside organization, some vendor, some big company with big bucks. Let's make sure that the trustees really know who their community is, who they're working for, which is the parents.
Thank you. We'll now go to question 4. We're going to start with Ms. James. As a school board member, how would you respond to the efforts of special interest groups who advocate for the censorship of existing curriculum while working with your fellow board members to create a cohesive vision for the district?
I believe that when it comes to censorship within curriculum within the schools itself, parents should be made aware of what their child is being taught. So we should involve the parents when it comes to making decisions like such. Like, for instance, I don't believe that third graders should be reading sexual books or even should have access to sexual books when their main focus is to understand how to read, write, and do math, because at a younger age is when they retain more versus when they get to the older age and they're kind of set in their ways. I'm answering the question, however, I'm just make sure I answer everything within the question. So I'm looking at the question. I will make sure that we keep an open door policy when it comes to these things like such, because some parents, when they do receive information from their students as far as what they're learning, excuse me, are not aware that their child are even learning these things. And I feel like as though they should have a say-so when it comes to certain partnerships, when it comes to these censorships, as far as what the child should be learning and what they should not be learning, especially determining on their grade levels.
Thank you. Same question for Ms. Nevarez. As a school board member, I'm so sorry, Mr. Phillips, as a school board member, how would you respond to the efforts of special interest groups to advocate for the censorship of existing curriculum while working with your fellow board members to create a cohesive vision for the district?
Yeah, see, that's so what you're speaking to there, Javia, is board culture, right? And so that's been one of the main proponents of what I've been doing during this first term, right? You step in the seat and you're drinking from a fire hose. So everything is coming at you and you're trying to figure all this out. But one of the things that I figured out very early on is that we can't have any expectation for our students. We can't have any expectation for our teachers, our principals of these campuses, if we're not leading by example at the board level. We had to create a kind of culture to where we actually are a nonpartisan body and that we function as such in order to be able to govern, and that we have the proper culture in place to be able to have discourse with one another, even if we happen to disagree, but ultimately make what's best for students and what's going to change student outcomes our northern compass that we always point back to. We've been able to do that. And so we've been able to, as this current group is currently constructed, have these conversations around what is going to be best for what's going to be best for our students. Also, we understand how to stay in our lane. We hired an educational expert, pay her very well, matter of fact, too, right? That she's going to be able to make decisions about what's going to get us to the goal we're trying to seek. And so what we have to do is empower her. We have to hold her accountable for the decisions that are being made there. And from there, we'll be able to see the dividends that, the goals that we know that she's going to be able to achieve, right? And so, yes, we get to have those conversations. We get to set the culture and climate, but we have a leader in place to be able to help make those decisions about what's actually going to move the needle for student outcomes, because that's what this is all about, not adult interests, but students and how they're gaining and how they're accessing.
Thank you. And for Ms. Nevarez, same question. As a school board member, how would you respond to the efforts of special interest groups to advocate for the censorship of existing curriculum while working with your fellow board members to create a cohesive vision for the district?
So I think that's a hasty question because personally, I'm not aware of any special interest groups that advocate for censorship. I do know, though, of parents that have been going to board meetings for over a year now, wanting to hear from the board, being given more options when it comes to curriculum. In this case, we can say sex education curriculum. So I think that we should definitely listen out to the community. Let's hear what the values of the community are. And I will say, I will be someone who represents the community and I will learn their values. Just because the other 8 board members don't agree with me doesn't mean I'm gonna sway my opinions just to go along with the 8 others. I will be that voice of the community and I will make sure that our values are being represented in the board.
Thank you. Now to question 5. We'll begin with, we'll begin with Mr. Nevarez with question 5. Do you believe the city of Fort Worth has an influence in improving the quality of education of our students? How would you engage the city of Fort Worth to invest in our schools?
So I believe in local control with local government. Our current local school board, we possess the complete ability to improve our education, improve our schools, make sure that improves our students. However, I do think communication between Fort Worth, the city of Fort Worth, and the district on specific matters when it comes to like lights, streets, sidewalks, making sure that there's off-duty officers around campuses so we don't have any more incidents like the unfortunate incident that didn't happen too long ago in one of our schools. I do think there should be a partnership in that sense, but I do believe, like I said in the beginning, there is local control with local government. In our school board, we do possess the ability to improve our education and our students and our parents in the community.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Phillips. Do you believe the city of Fort Worth has an influence in improving the quality of education of our students? And how would you engage the city of Fort Worth to invest in our schools?
Yes, ma'am. And Javia, you're doing an excellent job, baby. Keep it going. You're doing excellent. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Yeah, when it comes to the answer is yes. Does the city of Fort Worth play a role? Do they have a responsibility? It takes all of us. Yes, we're a school district, we're a school board, but this is about all of us, the students, the employees, the community, the parents. We all got to be in this together. That includes the city of Fort Worth. And what the city of Fort Worth has to do is they got to ride with us on this thing, right? And we're trying to take it somewhere. So that's from our facilities and everything that we have to do there. We have to get these permits to be able to do the construction projects and everything. We got to work collaboratively on those things. And so, but that's precisely what we've been doing. I have great relationships with people at the top levels of the city, whether it be Mayor Parker, whether it be Councilman Nettles, Councilman Williams, Councilwoman Bivens, Mayor Pro Tem Bivens. Have wonderful relationships with these folks, and that's exactly the thing. When we have these conversations, the answer is always yes. The answer is they ready. Be able to do what it takes because it really behooves all of us. It makes a better city when we have our schools that are thriving and doing well. So I'm very grateful to be able to have the relationships I have with those on the city council, those in the mayor's office, those in the city of Fort Worth, and it does absolutely take all of us. And that's precisely what we'll be doing in this next term, is making sure that all of us at the table together, making sure that we got the resources in place, that we're beautifying our neighborhoods, having the resources in our city, particularly in those that have been historically neglected, and that is all of our responsibility.
Thank you. Same question for Ms. James. Do you believe the city of Fort Worth has an influence in improving the quality of education of our students? And how would you engage the city of Fort Worth to invest in our schools?
Thank you for that question. And yes, I do believe that the city of Fort Worth plays a part. And the reason that I say such is because, like Q just said, when it comes to building, adding on to our schools and whatnot, there's certain permits that we have to get from the city in order to be able to do such. And when it comes to vacant properties that our schools are able to benefit from maybe having an agricultural life or wanting to expand the school itself, we have to be able to work with the city. And I feel as though when we work with the city is able to see what is being done for our kids, and they're able to provide positive feedback as well. I also believe that when it comes to the city being a part, when it comes to the city partnering with Fort Worth ISD, we have to be transparent with them as well as them being transparent with us. And that's my answer on that one.
Thank you. Moving to question 6. We're going to begin with Mr. Phillips. How do you see Fort Worth ISD responding to the competition of charter schools and private schools?
Getting on our game. That's what you have to do. We already have charter schools that are in place right now. We're saturating them. It seems to have been a lull recently about the number of charters that are coming in, but who knows how long that's going to sustain. The thing is, it's not about looking at somebody else and talking about what they're doing and not doing and all those things. It's about taking that inward reflection and looking in the mirror and saying that if a parent is choosing to go somewhere else, why would they be choosing that? And can we make sure that we're offering the things in place to where they don't have to make an alternative choice, right? Parents having choice is a good thing, right? As far as them being able to decide where their child is going to be educated and everything, but there's ways of being able to do that properly. I'm not against charters by any stretch or anything like that, but the thing is, there are aspects that our traditional public schools have been able to offer that are just second to none, and we have to be able to show exactly what those things are. Our Gold Seal programs of choice, they're stellar. We have every track that a young person can possibly have in place that they get to select from to be able to get them to where they need to go in their future. This is second to none, right? And so we have things in place, and we have to make sure we understand that we're in competition. We better make a healthy competition. And what it should do is make you get on your game, right? It should make you be able to say, how do we make sure that our kids have everything they need to where we're the best choice? Should they be able to have a choice? Sure. But choose us, and choose us because we actually are providing what the best is. That's the attitude that we have right now. Game on.
Thank you. Same question for Ms. James. How do you see Forward ISD responding to the competition of charter schools and private schools?
I see Forward ISD not responding within a positive way because of the fact that this voucher thing is coming up and so many kids are unenrolling from our schools that we're just feeding into it because we're not focusing on the academics of our children already at hand. And I personally feel as though that when it comes to that, we need to redirect our focus onto our kids and their academics because then we, like Q just said, we have programs at different schools that other schools aren't able to offer, and which these can actually push the kids in a different direction positively. And if we aren't focusing on that because of the fact that their academics are academic scores are poorly showing, then we're not assisting the kids in any way. And that will push me as a parent to want to transfer my kids out of out of public schools into a charter school. We need to, as I said before, focus back on the academics, offer teacher and staff support, because then that will allow them to teach the kids more than disciplining the kids. And that will allow us to focus on our children's score and their performances academically. And then I can take part in extracurricular activities in which the schools already offer that pushes them to prevail in the future further and now can actually show better on their resume for college and whatnot.
Thank you. Same question for Ms. Nevarez. How do you see Forward ISD responding to the competition of charter schools and private schools?
So Fort Worth is a growing city. It's been growing rapidly these past couple years, but we do see that as it's growing, parents aren't bringing their kids to Fort Worth ISD. They are opting for other districts in the surrounding areas like Aledo, like Azle, or charter schools, or even homeschooling. So we got to see, why aren't parents wanting to bring their kids to public education, more specifically Fort Worth ISD? And I think it's because of what we've been seeing the past years. Kids aren't they're not learning how to read, write, and do math. They're not getting the basics of education. And I think that's a problem here in the Fort Worth ISD. We haven't prioritized education, which is the main goal of public education, to educate. And so I think Fort Worth ISD hasn't responded as the parents have been wanting these last 4 years. I do believe 4 years is enough time to make a difference, yet we have not seen it, which is why I'm running for school board. But I do think with the reorganization and with our new superintendent, hopefully we can see some change. We can see students become the priority again in Fort Worth ISD, and hopefully get children to read, write, and do math, and make sure that they're prepared to go on to do whatever they want to do after public education. So like I heard, it is a competition. I want to make sure that public education, that Fort Worth ISD is the first option for parents. And that this is a place that they want to be, and their kids are here because they want to succeed, and they will succeed.
Thank you. We're going to proceed to question 7, which will be the last question. We're going to begin with Ms. James. How will you approach the great disparity of academic achievement and opportunity between students of different races in Fort Worth ISD?
We have to understand that each child learns different and have a different way of learning. And when it comes to the disparity of academic achievement and opportunity with students in different races, we have to be able to come to them on their level and understand what it is that we can be doing to improve for their understanding and when it comes to the academics itself. I feel as though a lot of times we focus on STAR testing, or we focus on the kids and their benchmarks, when really benchmarking, STAR testing isn't something that they're going to, it's not, I don't feel as though it is something that is really building them for the future. And when it comes to things such as learning how to do their taxes, or simply learning how to write a check, or understanding financial guidance, is something that we lack when we teach our kids. And this is something that the predominantly white areas are being able to learn and understand, where it is our kids were short-changing them a lot when it comes to these things. And when it comes to that, I feel as though with the Black and brown community, our kids are already getting the short end of the stick. As we've already said before, they're performing below average when it comes to their academic. We need to go back into understanding what it is and how our kids are learning so that we can cater to them a lot better than what we are doing. And once we get that support for teachers and staff, that will become a lot more easier.
Thank you. Same question for Ms. Nevarez. How will you approach the great disparity of academic achievement and opportunity between students of different races in Fort Worth ISD?
So like the question says, there is different races in the Fort Worth ISD. And what I would not do is lower the standard of academic success just because of someone's race. I think we should set the equal goals for all the races across the board, no matter your skin color or your ethnicity. It should be the same goals for everyone. And I most definitely believe that that will help close that gap that we see in academics. And I also do want to say that we have to be involved with the community. If there's a community that is struggling, let's not assume that they are struggling because they are Black or brown. Let's actually go out to that community, hear what they want to do, hear what they need. I do believe that parents can be a great solution to this. I want to propose a thing, a resource where we teach parents how to teach at home. If kids aren't getting enough support during schools, let's teach parents to be able to help them do their homework, tutor them at home. And that is something that I feel that will close this gap of academics, not necessarily because of your race or skin color, but I do think there are things that within a community that does need help when, I suggest parental involvement.
Thank you. We're gonna use the same question for Mr. Phillips. How will you approach the great disparity of academic achievement and opportunity between students of different races in Fort Worth ISD?
Yeah, Javia, thank you. What we're talking about right now is that we're talking about equity. Equity is not a dirty word, even though there's another one of those that's been thrown around and has been drugged through the mud and meant to make something that is not. When we talk about equity in Fort Worth ISD, what we're simply talking about is those who need the most will get the most. Those in need is where we have to focus. Never to the neglect of those who are being successful or anyone who may be different from the particular groups that may need the most attention at the moment, right? But it's talking about being intentional about making sure that those who need the most get the most. That's what equity is. Now, it doesn't matter the demographic box that's checked within that when it comes to equity. Wherever you've seen the hole, you fill it. Wherever you've seen the need, you make sure that you pay close attention to it and that you treat it properly, that you give that group exactly what it needs. But what we also have to do is acknowledge the problem, and that's exactly what we did when we asked for information to be disaggregated by race. Because what it has shown is that Black and brown kids are always at the bottom of any of these lists that we're talking about. What it's shown is that we can go by zip code and we can be able to see where the success is happening and where it's not. Once you come into that acknowledgement, now it's about, are you going to be able to put your money where your mouth is? So is your budget going to look and align itself to where you can actually tackle equity issues to be able to say, this is where we have to focus and this is where we have to help. Is our curriculum going to align to make sure that we're taking care of those who are in the most need, and that we have to make sure that we're giving the most attention to? And so, yeah, we got to close that academic gap, but we do that by being equitable in the way that we approach it and giving those who need the most the most.
Thank you. Thank you all. And we'll now proceed to closing statements, starting with Mr. Phillips.
Thank you so much, and really appreciate your moderation. You've done such an amazing job for the ISD product. That's what I'm talking about. So I love to see you doing this. You know, when it comes to the closing remark, it was said just a moment ago that 4 years is enough to make change. Even though there's some pushback I would have to that in some ways, actually it's true. And I think I provided exactly that. Go look at District 3 from the time I was inaugurated and go look at it now. Go look where the schools are rated and look at where they're rated now. Every school in District 3 has an acceptable accountability rating. We've done an amazing job, all but one. And the one that is not J. Martin J. K. Middle School, we have fantastic measures in place to make sure that they're about to get the success that they also rightfully deserve. The job is being done, and it's being done well. Now I was talking about consistency and leadership in order to make sure that we get exactly where we're trying to go. We've made the proper changes in forward ISD, and we're continuing to do so to make sure that we're putting students first. And you're able to see that in what we do. But the beautiful thing about being in the seat now as an incumbent in this particular election is that I don't have to just talk about what it is I'm going to do and all these kind of things. You can actually just go look at the track record yourself, go into these schools, go on the District 3 campuses and talk about me. Ask the people on those campuses, the principals, ask the teachers, the people that are working with these young people every day. Do they feel like they've been supported? Do they feel like they have an advocate? Do they feel like someone who is listening to them? You can talk to parents as well. And when you say talk to parents, I am a parent and my kids are in these schools. So I'm talking to parents every day and helping make decisions based on what my community is talking about, because I'm in my community every single day. So go have those conversations. Either I am who I said I am and I'm doing what I said I was going to do and I'm not, and you have to vote according to that. I really appreciate this time.
Thank you. Closing statement for Ms. James.
I'm a candidate who understands that education and communication and curriculum is something that needs to be reintroduced into our schools, and we need to take back our schools and steer them into the right direction. And I want to improve every school within my district in some type of positive way. And I feel as though we can do that if I am elected into the seat for School Board Trustee District 3. I volunteer within the school. I'm a part of the community in which I am running for. I understand and I see and I'm able to hear what it is that parents are asking for, what schools are asking for. As I mentioned earlier, I volunteer at Metro Opportunity School, so I am a part of that school, and being able to see how the day-to-day works is something serious. And I am wanting to be that person that offers and brings about change. And I'm not going to be that candidate or that representative that votes with everyone else because they're voting for this and I need to vote with this as well. I will speak my mind and speak on behalf of the parents and children I am sent here to represent. And I feel as though if given this opportunity, this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not a parent yet. I'm waiting for my baby to get here next month, but I see what it is and the changes that needs to take place. And I want those changes to be made because she will be a wildcat baby, as you mentioned to me before. And I'll be a wildcat who be you. I'll be a wildcat too. So I want to fight for my school and the schools within my district.
Thank you. And now for Ms. Nevarez.
Yeah, so I believe that school board trustees is the most important elected seat in all of America because we are dealing with the next generation. We are dealing with the future of this country, with the future of this world. We are dealing with future entrepreneurs, business owners, moms and dads. And so I think we need to place someone in this seat like me, someone whose interest is in the students, not with other people, not with big corporations, with people with big companies that somehow can make money off of public education. I believe public education should be for students, and that's it. Not to make other people rich, not to make sure people profit off it, but only students and the parents. And so I think it is time to be accountable. It is time to be transparent. It is time to place someone in that seat that is there for the interest of the students and the community. So I am Valeria. When you go vote, remember my name. I will be someone who stands for the community. I will be someone who fights to protect the next generation, someone who advocates for financial responsibility. And so vote for me May 6th. Early voting starts in May 24th, and I look forward to being on that seat.
Well, thank you all. I appreciate the candidates' time in helping us to get to know you. And I appreciate our moderator, Javia did a wonderful job. Thank you, Javia. There's been lots of help on the back end. I'd like to say a special thanks to our Go Center at OD Wyatt High School, where we're live from, and Ms. Freida Lee, and our whole advocacy committee. We're really excited to bring these conversations to you and appreciative that you've joined in tonight or that you've participated in some way. As a reminder, this forum has been recorded and is available for viewing on our website, www.fwisdpta.org, between now and voting day. We will be publishing steps on how to enable Spanish captions as well, and we hope to have Spanish dubbing in the future. We will host a candidate reception, an informal meet and greet on Friday, April 21st for all candidates that are running for Fort Worth ISD School Board at Lola's, located at the intersection of Berry and Cleburne. Early voting does start April 24th and runs through Tuesday, May 2nd, and voting day is May 6, 2023. However you vote, please get out there and vote and be informed. And thank you again, candidates, our moderator, and to you, our viewers. Enjoy the rest of your evening.